I'm Xanthe Vaughan Williams. I'm one of the co-founders and directors of Fourth Day. We're a boutique PR agency. We have a specialism in technology, which can be anything from payment security software to 3D printing. We also deal with professional services companies, law, we've got a corporate finance client. And in the last couple of years, we've been doing a lot more on the events side. So last summer, we promoted the bank side, which is where we're based, the Merge Festival, which is an arts festival along South Bank. We also have a Paris office, which we set up in 2006. The reason behind the Paris office is that in the technology sector, we do a lot of work with companies that are based in America and with agencies based in America. And the usual path of expansion for a US company is to start in the UK because of the language and then expand either into France or Germany before spreading wider in Europe. And while we found it very easy in the past to find partners in Germany, it's much harder to find a partner in France that's a good cultural fit, particularly when you're dealing with American companies. Yeah, the cultural differences can't be underestimated between the UK and France. When we were thinking of setting up, we asked a lot of other people we knew who had offices in France or who had offices in France what they thought, and every single one of them said don't do it. The three reasons they gave for not doing it were the fact that employment costs are very high, taxes, employers, national insurance or the equivalent is extremely high in France. We were told that employment law was very unfriendly to employers. And everybody seemed to feel that there was a different attitude towards working life in France, and there was a bit of a negative view. In the event, actually only one of those proved to be true, which was the one about the taxes. Employment taxes are very high in France. But employment law is not that dissimilar to here, and we found the working attitude excellent. But we've come to understand that underpinning the apparent informality of business lunches and not filling in timesheets and so on, there's actually a very strict code which, to use a word that we don't use here very much but is used a lot in France, is honour. And a business agreement will be based on an understanding between two organisations, and that understanding is really core to how you work together. And the details are something that isn't perceived as necessarily needing writing down. And this is an alien concept to us as Brits and to the US, where we're used to everything being based on legal contracts and litigation being a big part of our lives. Whereas in France, the detail is less important, and there's an assumption that can be sorted out between adults. I think greatly, because I think France is probably one of the more culturally different, surprisingly, places to the UK. And what it's really taught us, I think, is that you must absolutely learn where the other people are coming from. It's too easy to judge people by the same rules that you've done business by. And you have to invest the time to learn how they work and how business is done there, not just by reading a quick guide to business in a particular country. It's not about the taxes and the employment law. That's just a small part of it. It's about how people do business, how they interact together, and that's the most important thing. What we would do another time is to take somebody from the area you're moving to and somebody from your company now, and just have those two people spending a lot more time together so they really get to know each other. We knew Antoine quite well, but at the end of the day he had to set up the company largely on his own with us helping remotely, whereas I think what would have been much better and would have helped us learn and him learn faster is if we'd actually been doing it together. Really together, like on a day-to-day basis. Having an office overseas is lovely, but you've really got to put the effort in to make it beneficial to the business and to make it work. You've got to invest time. I mean, if you're a small business and you're thinking of opening overseas, you really do need to think about how much it's going to cost you, not just in the setup costs of having an office, but you've got to put the time in to be there enough. You've got to spend the money on travel if it's in France, get your Eurostar tickets booked, accommodation. There are other costs to think about, but you've got to do that is what you need to do to make it work. A conference call once a week just isn't enough. Got to have face-to-face contact, I think.